Hello everyone, my name is Zeo Trex, and today we are finally, after, 3 years, looking at Dark of the Moon, released in 2011. Dark of the Moon is the third film in the Bayverse series, and we follow Sam Witwicky get involved with a conspiracy with the moon. Meanwhile, the Autobots regroup with their old leader. I began a review of this movie all the way back then, and I just lost a lot of it. I no longer have it. I no longer have the script for it. I no longer have the edited version I was working on. But when I looked at this, I fucking hated this movie. I tore into it so much. I complained about everything, and I recently rewatched it with my friend Zach, and while it's not complete garbage, while it's not the worst film of the franchise that's coming up soon, it's probably the best Bayverse film. I can't come down to love it. If this is your favorite, Bayverse Transformers movie, I totally understand why. If you come up to me and you say, hey, Revenge of the Fallen is my favorite Transformers movie, I'm gonna sock you right then and there. Dark of the Moon, I understand why a lot of people love this one. I just can't. So, the lows are really low, but the positives are, positive. The action in this movie is much more of an improvement than it was in the last one. It was a lot more focused, a lot more cleaner, and it didn't feel like just a bunch of explosions. And while the action in this one is like that, it's not boring. It actually paces itself really nice. And that's another thing. The pacing of this movie was surprisingly good. Um, what was a 2-hour movie felt like really fast. I actually wasn't really bored throughout it, unlike my first watch of it. Um, the human characters in this movie are honestly a lot better. They're some of the best in the series, but the first movie obviously had the better human characters, but here, you know, there are some genuinely funny characters like the Asian guy, Deep Wang, John Turturro's character. I honestly did not like Sam and Carly in this film. I hate the relationship between them. It's not realistic. Carly as a character fucking sucks. Megan Fox didn't return for this one. Why? I think she called Michael Bay Hitler. So great idea right there. That's how you lose your job. So this fucking Aussie chick, man, she sucks. She cannot act for the love of her. Every time she's on screen, it's just, but you don't know how the Autobots work, do you, mate? She is a hot body to stare at. She's a character from the Generation 1 cartoon, by the way. She was Spike's girlfriend and Daniel's mom. But, no, she's just a hot body to ogle at. And Sam in this movie? You want me to here? I will give you his entire performance throughout this film. Ah! 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 That's literally all he does in this movie. He screams, he loses his shit. That is all he does. It is so annoying throughout the movie. Sometimes funny, but really annoying. And it's only funny because of how stupid it is. He overacts his ass off way, way too much. And oh my god, Sam, not Sam. Much like the other Bayverse films, the Autobots and Decepticons, they don't really get anything. They're not characterized at all, really. I mean, you have Optimus, the cold-blooded killer. You have Ironhide. It's just the action is just boom, 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 and it's fun. I like the highway bridge scene. Our main villain is Sentinel Prime, voiced by Leonard Nimoy. Welcome back to the Transformers series. He voiced Galvatron in the '86 film, and he's a decent enough villain. It's clear he was gonna be one, and I'm not sure when, but I think this is the movie that kind of recharacterized Sentinel to be more of a dick. I think maybe that was animated actually, because he was a dickhead here, but here I think it characterized him to be a villain. His Generation 1 version was just nothing. But going forward, most every version of Sentinel was evil, including the most recent one, which I think did Sentinel a lot better than this film. His motive is to bring Cybertron to Earth, and there's an entire conspiracy theory about the moon, Dark of the Moon, that I just didn't care about. The Decepticons suck so badly. Megatron is decent, and I just want to fucking praise this real quick. His design is the best in any of the live action films. So far, we still have yet to really see that Nightverse design on screen. Could be changed, but I love this design. I love the fact that it goes for a more Mad Max apocalyptic road. I love the alternate mode. I love the chains, the hood, the scarred face, the shotgun. A lot of it. And this movie also brings in Soundwave. It's not really Soundwave, though. So this movie brings in Soundwave to join our Decepticons. He was in the last movie, but this one he's finally part of the roster, and I just don't like this version of Soundwave. Um, there's the twist that he was actually Carly's car. I just don't get Soundwave vibes here. There's a scene where his introduction where he walks up to Megatron and it's Soundwave reporting. That's Soundwave. And I also wanted to talk about that voice real quick. I hated it when I watched this movie for the first time because Soundwave is known for having a auto-tuned vocoded voice, but I still have my issue with it. But I actually like it a lot more now, knowing that is Soundwave's voice. Frank Welker returns to voice him, and that's so cool that Frank Welker came to um voice Soundwave again. He voiced him in the original cartoon, and I love apparently that voice that he has in the movie, that's just the voice that he did in the booth. So what I imagine is that he did it with the assumption that they would have vocoded it, but he got paid, whatever. Um he doesn't speak like Soundwave though. The way he talks, so Soundwave had a very computer vocabulary. There's a scene where Soundwave says, "Kill them all." It If this was Generation One Starscream, not Starscream, Soundwave. If this was more like actual Soundwave's character, he would have been Laserbeak, Operation Assassinate, stuff like that. And also, this fucking design, I hate it. What is with it, Michael Bay, with just having your Decepticons be so lifeless in color? It makes it so hard for them to stand out. What, you wanted it to be more realistic? They're giant robots that fucking, transform and shit. There's nothing realistic about that. I mean, if Optimus Prime can have his red and blue on him, Soundwave can have his blue and white. And I also hate that he just killed him off. I hate that. I just hated that he died in this movie because he's an important character to Transformers mythology. He's one of the big three of Decepticons. Same as Starscream. My buddy Starscream right here. And I have Starscream dies in this movie because while he was attacking Sam and Carly, he got um a bomb in his eyeball, and that blew his face off by Sam. It's just so easily preventable because he could have so easily just ripped the bomb out of his eye. He has lost an arm before. I don't see why he can't just get a new eye or reattach his eye later. He like Starscream. He's not smart, but this feels like okay. Let's just make him purposely dumb. And it's not even that I've warmed up to this version of Starscream a lot. I like the design a lot. I've actually warmed up to his design a lot because of some cool visual effect facts, which I'll talk about later when we talk about Shockwave. And I like how this version of Starscream is much more of a loyal version to Megatron, where he's a backstabbing piece of shit in almost every version to him. And I've warmed up to a lot of the designs. So, you know how in the original Generation 1 cartoon, Megatron would turn into a gun, and Shockwave would also turn into a gun, but Soundwave would turn into like a cassette player. They wanted to avoid stuff like that because that's mass shifting. It's where parts just go nowhere after transforming. Which is why Starscream has a triangular shape, because they wanted every part of the jet mode to be a part of his robot mode. I like that, and that's something else I want to talk about with these films. They're great looking. Like the CGI, this was 2011, still holds up to this day. Even in 2007, oh my god, the fucking scene where Optimus transforms, that's fantastic. They really These films are exercises in great visual effects work. The Devastator from the last movie. You all know the story. It blew up a computer. And even then, the driller worm in this. Yeah, there's a giant worm that Shockwave has, which, very in character. Is fucking great looking. I think it's like one of the it's one of the most complicated models in that the team ever had to do. Like, there's a scene where it drills straight into a building, and oh my god, 2011? We look at fucking Marvel CGI now, and oh my god, it's like they can't fucking afford VFX artists. Or they just don't want to pay them, so they use generative AI for their fucking intro. Fuck you, Marvel. Speaking of Shockwave, wow, what a waste. Shockwave, um, gets nothing to do in this movie. There's not a scene where Shockwave. He's never in scene with any of the other Decepticons, by the way. Like, I feel like that Africa scene, um, he could have showed up. He could have, like, flown in and showed up to discuss with Megatron. That would have been cool. It would have been so cool to see the big three Decepticons with each other here. Um, he just never interacts with the others. He was, okay, so I forgot to mention this in the script. This movie had a lot of changes done to it. I think it was some of it was due to a script leak. Some of it was just um due to other things. For example, Shockwave was supposed to be the main villain of this movie, which would have been great. They wanted Corey Burton to come in and voice him, but he turned it down because he didn't want to do a big budget one. I feel like you could have done some sort of Shockwave voice. He only says like 2 words in this movie. Um, this design also for Shockwave. Hey, it's hard to fuck up a Shockwave design. Although you can tell they tried to over design it a bit. He dies in this movie just like Ironhide. And Ironhide's death I hate. Not because I had an actual attachment to the character. He wasn't really a character. But more so how it's treated. It's never mentioned after Sentinel betrays them. There's never a scene where they're like, we must kill Sentinel for what he did to Ironhide, right? Whereas with like Jazz in the first movie, there's a scene where Ironhide holds Jazz's body. Ratchet dies in the next movie. Spoilers. Ratchet dies in the next movie. And there's an entire subplot of Optimus getting revenge on him. Ironhide, though, Sam runs into his parents' cabin to talk about his girlfriend breaking up with him. Sam, that Autobot leader has plans to bring Cybertron to Earth using these pillars. What is wrong with you? And I wanted to talk. Let me kind of iterate the ending of this movie. So at the end, Optimus fights Sentinel, and also again, I just fucking hate how Optimus is characterized in these movies. There's people who've been trying to defend Optimus's killing, and I get that it's war. I get that like it is a war, but oh my god, the way he just goes about it, like just going in and digging into Shockwave's eye, ripping it out, saying, "You die!" And obviously, the funniest part of the entire movie was him just brutally executing Sentinel. Sentinel is laying there, begging for his life, and Optimus is like, "You didn't betray me, you betrayed yourself," and just fucking executes him. I'm okay with Optimus killing if he has to. The way they execute, literally, his murderous ways throughout these films just doesn't work, honestly. It just doesn't feel right to me. So the ending got leaked. Originally, Megatron and Optimus came to a truce, and you can see that in the film. In fact, there's a lot of weird little moments. So when Megatron arrived in Africa, he shot an elephant in the original script. They filmed it and all, but it got removed because I guess they didn't want to see that. And you can see that in the movie. He takes out his shotgun. We see the animals run away, but then he puts his shotgun back in. Very interesting. But one of the cooler or robbed parts is Megatron and Optimus did come to a truce at the end, and I think they both teamed up to defeat Sentinel. And that's why when you look at that scene, there is so much empty space right there between Optimus. Like there's so much empty space next to Optimus. Megatron was supposed to be there. In fact, Sam and Bumblebee look to the left, and you can see that they're looking at Megatron. But no, Optimus ripped Megatron's head out in the final film because some bastard leaked it. And I just don't like how Megatron is characterized in these movies. And I think it is because of how Transformers 1 dealt with it. I wish they played more into the fact that they were brothers before the war. I wish they went more into that relationship. I just don't buy it. I just don't buy their relationship because most of the time Optimus isn't going. This is the only scene they fight. I just realized this is the only scene in the entire movie where Optimus and Megatron are on screen together. Is the ending when he rips his head off. Unless I'm like not remembering something right. Yeah, this is the only scene in the entire movie. And then you get what I'm saying. Like, and it's just because of how much they favor other villains for other than Megatron. He was at his best in the first movie. In the second movie, it was the Fallen. Um, and even then, I feel like Megatron still had a pretty big part. But after that, he was just regulated to a side character. Just so many dumb decisions in this film that really hold it down. Um, look, I know this is considered the best Babe first films, which I totally get. There is a lot in this film to like. When was a lot more entertaining than Revenge of the Fallen. It was a lot more put together. It was a lot more coherent. But as a Transformers fan, someone who grew up with these movies, by the way, like these films are why, I'm holding an Optimus Prime toy in my hand. As someone who loves Transformers, consumes so much Transformers media, I just can't love these films. You know, and I'm not one I like the Generation 1 cartoon, but I do want to clarify that I'm not a total simp for it. The Generation 1 cartoon is not really good. It was a toy advertisement. I love the 86 movie. Nothing will change that. The 86 movie is great. My second favorite. Transformers 1 is up there. But it feels like these Bayverse films just disregard anything that the Transformers films were building up. There's different interpretations, and then there's just disrespecting the source material. Um, I feel like Dark of the Moon would have been the final movie. I think that's what it was planned for it to be the end of a trilogy. But I guess it made a lot of money at the box office. I don't know. And the next film is Age of Extinction, which replaces Sam with Cade Yeager, played by Ted star Mark Wahlberg. And while this movie, I can definitely see why people like it. If you like Age of Extinction, I'm gonna give you a vasectomy right then and there, you bastard. No one likes Age of Extinction. And God, I forgot what to say about that movie. So I know I'm gonna have to fucking rewrite it. Dark of the Moon has its moments. The highway fight and the overall ending battle was great. The movie did get a few genuine laughs at me, but there's just too much to dislike here. The handling of its villains, the handling of the Transformers characters, and total lack of respect for the IP, it gets a C. Until next time, we will kill them all, according to Optimus.